My secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
Welcome to This Filipino American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos in the United States. At Iba Pa, my name is Elaine Delalas, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts,
Ryan Carpio,
Joe Bernardo,
Mike,
producer Mike, and
Girly. Yay!
air horns.
That's Joe's enthusiastic voice.
So we are very excited to have Girly on. We are very excited to have air horns on, even though Mike wishes they would go away. But the people have spoken and they like the air horns. So thank you, people.
No.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
So what are we going to talk about on this? Oh, wait, no. Before I get to the subject, let's cover the TFAL of the episode. The TFAL of the episode is Marites Mendoza.
Marites.
Do you guys know Marites?
I do.
Sweet! Someone we actually know. Woohoo!
Did she go by Marites, Tess, or Mari?
Marites.
MT?
Or Marites.
MTM?
But some people call her Maritz.
Oh, dude, I was going to ask her right now. That's cool.
Maritz.
Because there's only one S at the end.
Yeah.
So,
Marites.
but I think it's short for Maria Teresa.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm like, Maria Teresa.
And there's probably two more names there.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't know Marites. Sorry.
But thank you for being our TFAL of the episode.
Yay, Marites.
Cool.
Right. And we are going to talk about something that, What?
We have something else to talk about.
Oh, we have something else to talk about. It's early.
We did get a Facebook message.
Oh,
that we got.
Facebook message.
Yes, we got a Facebook message that we'd like to share with our audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joe, why don't you
Are we
talk
going to do
about it?
interpretive reading on this? What is it? I don't know.
Interpretive? Yeah. What?
Sorry.
It's early. We're recording early in the morning
this is
time.
early.
So people
Sorry.
know.
As early as like 5 p.m.
No, it's 11 a.m.
I don't think that's any better, but
I don't either. It's not. I'm not awake.
all right. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So this message actually came from James Nalabap. And it was a really cool message. So that's why we want to shout it out. He says, I just wanted to say I love the podcast. Please keep doing what you're doing. I was referred to the podcast by my wife's cousin, Dr. J.P. de Guzman. Shout out to J.P. de Guzman. He's a cool guy.
I know a JP too. Yes.
Yeah, you know PJ.
I feel like I know JP.
Marites' cousin.
I particularly love the episode 15.5 on hometown associations. We have a tight circle of friends that have children of similar ages. We decided to form our own association in tribute to the episode and our culture, which somehow formed into a fraternity for the children. We call ourselves PACU, Filipino American Charter and Union, or PACU, and vicinity.
Yeah.
And our children's fraternity is Tau Alpha Epsilon, or TAE.
This is so
Every outing we have, we bring a sign and a marquee. Once again, I love the podcast. You have gotten me through many long days in traffic. So shout out to James. That was an awesome message.
Yes.
Yay.
And shout out to Pakyu and TAE.
And all the Taes out there.
Yes. Tau Alpha Epsilon.
gosh.
It's hilarious.
Okay, so now we could go on
Now
to
we
the
can
discussion.
go on to what we're going to talk
Yes.
about. We're going to talk about this really awesome movie called, what is it called, Mike?
Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, it's so good. He climbed through 2 football fields of poop.
Is that
That's what happens. He says in the movie in Shawshank Redemption, but
Oh,
not
yes.
Shawshank.
Sister Act?
Sister Act 2.
Oh, sorry.
We're gonna talk about our movie because it has our boyfriend in it, right, Mike? Our boyfriend.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Black Panther.
Hey.
And so Mike and I saw the film and we found it really awesome. Right, Mike? I don't want to talk to you, but like, share your thoughts.
I thought we were going to talk about Fly Me to the Moon starring Dolphy.
No. I just want to say, after the movie, we came out and Mike's reaction was, Michael B. Jordan is a beautiful man.
Oh.
Well, I can't argue
I was
with
like,
that.
This is why I watch Creed like 5 times in a row.
So yeah, what about Black Panther, Elaine?
Well, there was an article that went out about the Black Panther, and a lot of like Filipino social media outlets put it out that there is a Filipino connection to Black Panther. One of the designers for the generals, for the women's fighting security like arm in Black Panther, their costumes are inspired by Filipino traditional like indigenous garb.
Oh, cool.
So that was really neat. And I thought like, oh, okay, that's cool. To see the connection. And you can obviously see in the costuming and whatnot that there was a lot of time taken to make it like feel like that Pan-African environment. Like you see it's in the film. It's beautiful, by the way. The film is amazing. And we won't do any spoilers since a few of us here at the table haven't seen the film.
Yeah. I haven't seen it.
Please don't.
So, but
Yeah, like the part with the T-Rex.
Oh my god.
when the aliens come.
Yeah, oh my God.
Hate you all.
And then Jaws comes out.
And then Jeff Goldblum just looks there and says, "My body is ready." No.
Okay, wait. I stop you there. I know Jeff Goldblum was not in the movie.
But what are your thoughts about the Filipino connection to this movie?
Well, I love costumes and I love fashion, and before I even started to see stories about the direct Filipino connection, I thought that the way that the designer pulled in different motifs from Africa and just different indigenous cultures was really, really beautiful. I actually my thought didn't go straight to Filipino motifs. I've seen weavings from all sorts of different countries. When I was in Guatemala during my undergrad years, I noticed that a lot of the indigenous weavings are actually very similar. The patterns are very similar to Ifugao weavings. So I just thought, like, the way that I interpreted the costumes for Black Panther was that a lot of these indigenous cultures are very connected. And just as they are in Africa, in parts of South America, as well as Philippines, the indigenous weavings are used to identify different tribes. So, wonderful that there is a Filipino designer that worked on this really momentous movie. But I don't know. I mean, I thought like, oh, that's nice. It's just, I think I'm choosing more to focus on the fact that we're all connected, and this is just another example of that.
Right. I was going to say, I'm actually not surprised, meaning that it's a good thing that I'm not surprised. Like, yeah, there should have been a Filipino person in a movie like this, or influences that take from different countries or even the Philippines indigenous designs and costume patterns, etc. So I'm happy that it's the connection is there. I like that I'm not surprised anymore. I think that's a testament to the direction that the film industry has come to, and the design industry, and just recognizing that there are a lot of people out there, when given the opportunity, kind of like shines. And it's good to highlight these things. I think the important thing is for us to highlight these connections. Although there's probably some people out there who are going to be like, oh, that's cool and that's awesome. I think it's cool and awesome too, but I'm really happy that I'm like, That's about right. Yeah, that's about right.
And the artist, like, I want to give him a shout out. The person's name is Anthony Francisco, and he's visual develop. He's a senior visual development illustrator for Marvel, and he is a Filipino and grew up in the Philippines, and so he took his background. Influenced the Dora-milaje. That's what they're called. The security force.
Okay.
No spoilers.
It's not a spoiler. I'm just identifying them.
Okay, so I'm gonna sound like a curmudgeon.
Oh,
And,
what's new? Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Kill you, right? So, okay, where do I start?
Joe's a hater.
As I sip my coffee.
Start.
Okay, first of all, I am not a hater. But
you know what haters say? You know what haters
He
say?
has a butt.
That's the
Like
most.
a really big
Haters
butt.
start their sentences with, first of all, I'm not a hater.
But
All right, hater, go.
okay, part of me feels that a lot of folks are making a bigger deal about this than it really is.
About the connection?
About the connection, the Filipino connection. I think it's cool that a costume designer really got permission to use some indigenous from the Philippines, some tribal motifs in the costume. From the stories that the articles that I've read, the actual costume director is Ruth Carter, and I think the directive was trying to get African-inspired costume designs for the movie. But one of the persons on her team was Anthony Francisco, and he's Filipino, and he used some Philippine designs from. I'm not sure exactly what indigenous folks he got the design from.
He was a table runner.
hey, that works. I mean, I use malungs as
We have malungs all over
the house.
So from what I know is all non-African patterns had to be approved by Ruth Carter. But I just think it's a cool kind of factoid, but it kind of goes along the same vein as some of the Filipino Americans trying to reach for some kind of visibility within kind of mainstream media, mainstream culture. I think it goes along the same line as people trying to claim that Prince is part Filipino, right?
Oh, what? I've never heard that.
Oh, come on. So a lot of people have talked about how Prince is part Filipino. He may be because he's short.
Because he's light-skinned?
Because his name is Prince. If we have princess.
So they Principia or something like that? Or?
So, yeah, I think a lot of people were trying to claim that he's Filipino, and maybe he is, but I just think that's a stretch. It's like, who cares?
Right.
You know?
You just want people to enjoy Black Panther and to like let Black people have it, right? Like it's
Yeah, I mean,
like let this one culture have that win, as opposed to Filipinos being like, "Yo, we're here too."
yeah. It's like why are we trying to make it about us?
Yeah.
That's my thing. It's a cool factoid, and I think it's good about trying to connect people's cultures and kind of people's struggles together. But for me, it's kind of like, let's appreciate Black Panther as a Black movie and not try to impose or trying to reach for any kind of personal or kind of a nationalistic grab at this mainstream movie.
Right.
Well, I don't see it to that extreme.
Ooh, a house divided.
What's new? No, I mean, I think I agree with you. Like, Black Panther is a beautiful, monumentous Black movie. But I think given the connections of all of our experiences, I think it's not so bad that people are seeing themselves, whether they're Black or not, in the story, in the design, in just any aspect of the movie.
Okay, but I still think I think it's a spectrum. Like I don't think it's totally like wrong. We shouldn't do this, but I do think it kind of falls along the same vein as that article about Meghan Markle,
Yes.
Yeah, she spoke Tagalog to people. It's like, whoa, wow, who cares?
Didn't she just say thank you?
She said salamat po, right?
I thought was like, oh well, she grew up in LA, so
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I was like,
And she's Filipino, right?
oh my god,
no, I'm
stop
sorry.
it.
I just thought like she went to IMAC High School. She must have known a Filipino.
Right.
I'm pretty sure somebody brought lumpia to her one day.
IMAC is what?
Pretty sure.
IMAC is Immaculate Heart High School. It's a all girls Catholic high school in Los Angeles.
Los Feliz, right?
In Los Feliz, yeah, with illustrious alumni like Tyra Banks and Meghan Markle and probably other people that I am not remembering. But
Joanne Barang, this girl I knew.
oh, I was like, who's that? But yeah, so it's kind of like I saw that and was like, come on, guys, like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like it's not. I think it's a cool factoid, but I think people are just making it a big deal out of it.
Well,
Who's making a big deal out of it, though? Is it BuzzFeed?
I'm like,
Just kidding, BuzzFeed. Hi.
I think they just need the content.
Yeah.
But I think like as somebody who grew up in the San Fernando Valley and also has hater tendencies,
I think those are mutually exclusive.
not really, but I think like when this article came out, like it came out right after the Parkland shooting, so the high school shooting. So it was one of those like it was in the news cycle where you needed to have like a moment of joy for once because everything else was so depressing. So for Filipinos, at least for me in particular, it was like, oh, well, this is a moment of joy for me because I get to connect with like a pop culture phenomenon in like a personal cultural way. And it was a good distraction from the depressing news cycle that we are experiencing at the moment. So, I mean, in the context of what was happening that week, because that article came out on the like 18th, I want to say, at least from the BuzzFeed link that I'm looking at.
But that's accidental. It's not like
Oh, it's the 16th. So it came out the day before. So it was in that. It was it within
What we're saying
the
is it got picked up in the news cycle amongst at least Filipinos because it was something other than depressing
like
news.
yeah, like well, that's just that's how I operate. So I'm not gonna like generalize and say that all Filipinos were doing that, but. In light of the depressing news cycles that have been happening, I feel like folks reach out for happier stories because it's like a means to survive.
But I also think that story would have came out without the news cycle context, right?
Yeah.
I think Filipinos would have shared that regardless of what happened before the Parkland shooting. I just think like Filipinos just love because of the kind of history of invisibility in a multicultural United States. Filipinos crave anything and everything that says Filipino because we don't see ourselves there
Because there's been like an erasure.
Yeah.
Do you think then that it distracts? Is it a distraction, or do you think it's just like a kind of like we got it, move on? Or
to me, it's kind of like we're venerating kind of mainstream culture too much, and that we're not looking at. To me, we're not looking at kind of the success stories within our own community that we should be proud of, and instead we're clamoring because Quentin Tarantino wore a barong.
Right.
You know.
That's exactly.
Oh
that's
my
actually
God, yes.
that's actually a good point, because I was gonna mention that, you know, mainstream media has made us crave the attention, or you know, whatever's in mainstream, we attach ourselves and kind of ride the coattails of whatever the mainstream thing is.
Yeah,
and I agree with that point. I think it's fine to celebrate accomplishments of a kababayan who happens to be in a movie that's excelling, but I think on that same vein we should be celebrating Filipinos in industries that don't necessarily get that highlight.
Yeah.
Right.
Can I contribute to that
Yes, absolutely.
example?
No.
Wow, Joe.
Yes to
Yes,
me, girlie.
girlie.
I don't want anything to happen.
So, whatever, Joe. Center Theater Group, one of the 3 regional theaters in Los Angeles, is actually going to. They're having a block party. This is their annual block party where they work with 3 smaller theaters in Los Angeles, and one of the theaters that they're working with is Playwrights Arena, whose artistic director, I think his artistic director / executive director, John Lawrence Rivera, is putting on one of the plays called, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the name?
Bloodletting.
Bloodletting, yes.
Great
And
preparation,
it's
girl.
written by Bonnie Alvarez. Well, I've already seen it.
Okay.
But I haven't seen a lot of play regarding that, this production. Excuse me, I'm like working through a cold. But, sorry.
It's
We're
okay.
all sick.
Ooh, sexy.
Okay, all right, I'm back. This play in particular, it talks about aswangs and a Filipino American family that grew up in the Philippines and has to go back. I'm sorry, grew up in the United States and has to go back and contend with their family history. And I mean, Playwrights Arena has been doing productions like this and talking about the Filipino American experience for a number of years, and very much supporting LA playwrights like Boney. And I haven't seen a lot of play for it. I mean, I think that the tickets have been selling fine, but I've been trying to talk up this play in particular, and I just.
Right.
This is a play that's written by a Filipino playwright, and is talking about the Filipino American experience. Right. So where is the hubbub about this production?
I mean, and I feel like we touched upon this in our previous episode on pop cultural appropriation, the one
with Karen Thompson.
And I mean, I think the difference is that it's one thing for us to recognize each other, and we do that in different ways depending on how we kind of feel ingrained in our own philamness or whatever. But to see, or at least perceive, that we're being quote unquote accepted in a different venue feels like a win because of that whole, again, thing about, are we visible? Our visibleness to like kind of the culture at large, and whether or not that's something that we should value over our own visibleness to each other. Mm-hmm. So yeah, obviously like this kind of tenuous connection to the Black Panther always is gonna get like this press, and it's gonna be a BuzzFeed article, but like I think the best way I can put it is how my parents would always put this was like, like even like why, like ask me why I majored in Asian American studies. It's like, you're Asian American, you already know everything about yourself. Why would you need to study it? Or why would we go to that event? We're from the Philippines. We don't need to like go to like this Filipino show or Filipino night at this thing, or those kind of things. It's kind of like why would you need to celebrate the thing that you already are? You should be celebrating the things that people recognize. If they're not part of your culture. I don't know. This is kind of like how my parents have kind of perceived things, right? And so, they wouldn't get excited about the fact that they could watch like the Filipino news on Channel 18, which is like used to be the local international channel here, but they would get excited if they saw something on like Fox News about like Filipinos, like, oh, we're on the news, like that kind of thing.
It's like it's media sensational,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's normal, I think, to like snow in North Dakota is not news. But snow in Los Angeles is, right?
So the world of it.
But there's always like this kind of buzz about things that may be surprising to people, and that's why I was like, oh, I'm not that surprised that there's a Filipino, recognition for a movie like this, like a big production movie like this. So I think I kind of want to focus more on like, okay, what are we going to do about that? Excuse me, about that. We can. We can highlight all the stuff that that Girlie was talking about. We don't have the buzz for it or the hubbub on this play. Is there a way to marry the two? Like ride the right, the energy of mainstream, and then kind of apply it to the ones that's not so mainstream. I think that's hopefully the goal, right? Like
Yeah. I think that that should be some kind of goal. We understand that pop culture does have a hold on the community. It does. It's reality, and you can't simply just ignore it. But I just think like it's not. We just place too much value in it.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to validate ourselves from other people, from non-Filipinos.
Right.
And I think a lot of non-Filipinos, a lot of Filipinos do that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that in general. But that's kind of what my kind of take on the whole Black Panther thing. I think we should just kind of, for me, I want to appreciate Black Panther for what it is, as a triumph.
You haven't seen
but
it yet. You
I
need
know.
to see it.
I will see it, and I think that's cool that there has been kind of some kind of Filipino influence, but I'm not going to hold my hat on it.
Yeah. I mean, to that point, Joe, like someone on Instagram messaged the TFAL Instagram and was like, "Oh, there should be a Filipino version of Black Panther, and like, what do you think about that?" And I had responded with, "Well, like, if there are stories and someone wants to make it, then they should totally do it." But also, like, in my head, I was thinking, well, Black Panther had like, it's a comic book from the 60s. So it had like a lot of source material to pull from. So that was one thing I kept thinking. So if there is a Filipino version of it, like, yeah, you could pull from like cultural like stories and whatnot, but that's going to be a heavy lift for somebody to generate. I mean, Black Panther is in and of itself is an accomplishment. It was a heavy lift. Like Ryan Coogler did amazing things with this film. And like, I want to put it out there to like Filipino Americans who are creating like visual work, who are for like screenwriters, actors, directors. Like, you can, if you want to do something like this, like I will like champion you, and I will be a fan. Like I want to be a fan of like that, and to have like our own space. But like, I don't want to say like the Filipino version of Black Panther. Like, just make your own story, like create your own universe with Filipino inspired characters and that world, but don't bite off Black Panther. Like, just create a unique story to us. Like, there is a film at LA Asian Film Fest. It was Vampire. There you go. Yeah. I always got it wrong. It's from Michael. It's a filmmaker, Michael Bay. It's a horror film. It was about aswangs, and they were like in San Francisco, in the Philippines.
Oh,
and
it
was like it was fun, campy horror, and I don't like horror films. But it was great. And if more people had saw that would have been cool. And like, so like, it's not like these stories don't exist, right?
Yeah.
So like, in terms of like, and that's a Filipino thing, right? Aswang and the whole like concept of it. And so like, we can do those things and we'll be fans of them. Like, there's no need to be like, let's do our version of it. Like, let's just do our stories and go from there.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's also, we tend to always try to do, hey, let's do a Filipino version of X, Y, and Z.
Right. Yeah.
Let's do a Filipino version of this. But then like sometimes it doesn't work out because of our...
It's not original.
Yeah.
It's mimicry. And you can just do a version, you can just do a Filipino thing because you're Filipino, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a mainstream movie. It could just be like a story or something like that. Whatever is possible within kind of our community means.
Right.
And we should honor that and kind of value that
like
as well.
Just because I'm a Filipino version of Michael B. Jordan,
Oh my God.
I'm also just Ryan Carpio.
Oh my
Is that
God.
cool?
Can someone out there please Photoshop Ryan Carpio's face on top of Michael B. Jordan's body?
No.
Like on top of
Like, dude, I'm
Killmonger's
tired of
body.
it.
You should do the opposite.
do the opposite.
Michael B. Jordan's
Oh
face
God, he's gonna get
on
some-
Ryan's
he's like,
body.
What the hell's my face doing on Ryan Carpio's body? I mean, we're in so
Or
interchangeable
you'd not be
sometimes.
what the hell, be like, oh my God, I can't believe my head is on Ryan Carpio's body.
I mean, it hurts sometimes. I'm like, I'm just Ryan Carpio, Filipino American, you know? I just wanted to.
So yeah. I also wanted to say, so when I was in high school, I used to be one of those Filipinos who always claimed anything and everything Filipino.
Right.
So I used to be like to like my non-Filipino friends, hey, did you know that the best DJs in the world are Filipino?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that what did I say? The maid of Michael Jackson was Filipino.
Right.
Wow.
Dude, we also made up a whole
Wow.
bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Like Dean Cain's Filipino. Remember that when he was like really
Oh my
popular
gosh,
on
yeah, I do
Superman?
remember
Wait, he's
that.
not?
I don't know.
I think he's actually like JA.
Yeah, I think he's yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Japanese,
Oh, you're
yeah.
blowing my mind right now.
Because he's like connection to Hawaii. So
Right.
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. And I used to be
Oh,
like,
man.
yeah, do you know Rob Schneider was
Yeah.
not Filipino?
What?
Well,
Because he
Rob-
was. He
Yeah.
is.
But that was even before like he kind of outwardly said he was Filipino.
his
right?
mom-
Yeah. So like I would say that all the time. And then my non-Filipino friends were like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, like
But you're saying that because, like, you know, this is a discussion, like, representation matters, but you're saying it because it's like you didn't see yourself on screen.
I understand that. But I think my worldview has changed where like we can value stuff that's not in the mainstream too.
Yeah.
And that's important, and we should venerate that as well.
During the like in the 90s Chicago Bulls Utah Jazz
Oh, God.
championships.
Oh, Brian Russell?
No, a lot of people were, a lot of my family in the Philippines were rooting for the Jazz because apparently Karl Malone was connected to the Philippines in some
yeah.
way.
What?
Like I think his
What?
wife was like part Filipino or something.
Oh, no, but Dennis Rodman's dad actually lived in
Right.
the Philippines.
Right.
So like, everybody's all claiming that.
Yeah, it's like-
Oh, wow.
But seriously,
Because they were probably
Really?
in the military?
we crave it. you
Yeah.
know?
And I remember, when in the 90s, people used to always claim that Cedric Sabalos was part Filipino.
I mean,
What?
because
Wait,
he
who is that?
he had some time in Hawaii.
He was the
girly.
he was a captain of the 90s Lakers team.
Oh,
the
okay.
lean 90s
95,
years.
95, 96.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Whatever.
You know, the lineup was like Cedric Sabalos, Eldon Campbell,
Eddie Jones,
Nick
Nick Van Exel, Nick Van Exel.
still
That's an
doesn't
awesome
mean
team.
anything
Yeah.
to me.
Whatever.
Eddie
this football?
Jones, yo, number 6 forever.
Thank you, Mike.
And then
Are you start talking about tennis? What is this?
and then Andrew Cunanan came out and we're like, that guy's
Oh,
not Filipino.
no.
And then we're like, no, he is obviously Filipino.
Not
This is
Filipino.
not good.
Cunanan? No way. That's not Filipino at all.
Cunanan.
No way. No way. Not Filipino at all. Anyway,
Yeah.
you take the good, you take the bad.
The facts of life.
So yeah, and I also don't want to get into argument how the cultural motif of indigenous Filipinos could have been like it's not Filipino. It could be culturally appropriated
Right.
by lowland Christianized Filipinos.
Right.
So that's a whole different argument.
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
go
Really?
there. But,
That's why I'm nodding my head. I got a whole other episode, bro.
Wowie.
but anyways,
Like, where are you going with that?
All this to say, Joe's not a hater.
Joe's not a hater, but
He is from the
he's a
valley.
hater. It's like no shade, but shade.
yeah. So all I'm saying is we're Filipino. We are who we are. Let's value that
We
and
are the youth of a nation. Sorry, that just popped in my head. Mike's
Let's-
looking at me like,
What is
why?
that?
I don't know.
let's love and honor leaders in our own community as much as we do whatchamacallit, as we do like Jordan Clarkson.
Right.
You know?
Oh, he's no longer a Laker.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah. So
Oh.
that's all I had to say about that. And go watch Black Panther.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
go
excited
watch
to watch
it.
Yeah, I should watch it.
You should totally watch it. It's really good. We're going to watch it again for sure. So we can cry our eyes out.
Thanks for the spoiler, guys.
It's really
Wait,
moving.
Michael cried too?
Oh, totally. Both of us.
Wow.
All right, episode over. Thanks,
All right.
guys. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailat. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.